Have you ever walked away from an argument feeling completely drained, like the life has been sucked right out of you? Not just tired after a long day, but deeply exhausted, as if someone reached in and stripped away every ounce of your mental energy, leaving you empty, confused, and wondering what just happened. You gave it your all, opened up, expressed your feelings, hoping the other person would listen, understand, and respond with even a shred of sincerity. But instead of a conversation, you got cold silence, twisted words, or worse, an attack that made you question your own reality. If this sounds familiar, pause for a moment and take a deep breath. You're not alone. Today we're diving into a topic that's not only common but leaves deep, lasting emotional scars. How not to get sucked into the endless, meaningless cycle of arguing with a narcissist. This isn't a quick fix or a surface-level chat. This is a journey, one that asks you to face the truth, understand what you're really dealing with, and arm yourself with powerful tools to protect your peace of mind. I'm not here to offer cliches or tell you to suffer in silence. I'm here to show you how to walk away from the battlefield, not by surrendering, but by being smarter, stronger, and fully in control of yourself. Picture this. Psychological studies estimate that nearly 6% of the population exhibits signs of narcissistic personality disorder. That's a significant number, but the real number may be even higher. Why? Because not everyone gets diagnosed, and not everyone shows their true colors. But if you've ever been close to someone like that, in a family, a romantic relationship, or even at work, you know the statistics don't matter as much as the impact. One narcissist can turn your life into a never-ending war, where you always seem to lose, not because you're weak, but because they play by an entirely different set of rules. This isn't just theory, it's the daily reality for millions of people. Maybe you've been there, trying to explain, trying to be heard, only to find your efforts crushed by indifference, manipulation, or relentless verbal attacks. I'm here to tell you a harsh but freeing truth. You don't have to keep fighting that battle. In this video, I'll walk you through it step by step, from understanding why arguing with a narcissist is a losing game, to how you can protect your peace, stand firm in your values, and even break free from the emotional abuse they weave so well. This isn't giving up. This is winning with wisdom, with resilience, and with self-respect no one can take from you. To deal with a narcissist, you have to understand them, not through the lens of your emotions, not through the hopes or expectations you've placed on them, but through how they actually operate in the world. Picture it like this. A narcissist lives inside a movie where they are both the director and the main star. In that script, they're always the center of the universe, always right, always grand, always invincible. Everyone else, including you, is just a background character, existing solely to support their storyline. This isn't something you can change with words or love. This is how they're wired, deep in their mind and emotional makeup. Let's go a little deeper. Science shows that people with high narcissistic traits often have structural differences in their brains. Neurological studies have found that the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for empathy, for stepping into another person's shoes, functions less effectively in narcissists than in the average person. That doesn't mean they choose not to care about you. It means they can't. When you say, "I feel hurt," a typical person might pause, reflect, and try to understand. But a narcissist doesn't process those words in the same way. Instead, they see them as a tool, a crack to exploit, a way to manipulate, a way to keep you under their control. Imagine standing in front of a thick brick wall. You scream, pound your fists, try to break through so the person on the other side can hear you. But the wall doesn't just remain silent. It throws your voice back at you, turning your cries into arrows aimed straight at your heart. That's how a narcissist reacts when you try to express yourself. They don't receive your emotions as an invitation to connect. They see them as an opportunity to assert power. So why is arguing with them pointless? Think of it this way. Have you ever tried to play a serious game with someone who doesn't care about the rules? Imagine sitting down for a game of chess, carefully placing the pieces, planning each move with precision. But your opponent, the narcissist, doesn't even look at the board. They flip the table, kick the pieces, and declare themselves the winner, no explanation needed. You might have the sharpest logic, the clearest reasoning, the most sincere heart, but to them none of that matters. They're not playing to reach truth or resolution. They're playing to win, to dominate, to keep you in a constant state of powerlessness. Think back to a specific moment in your life. Maybe you said to a narcissist, "I just want us to understand each other better." You hoped for a real conversation, a bit of empathy, a glimmer of hope. But instead they turned it around. Understand each other? If you weren't so sensitive, we wouldn't even have a problem. You tried to explain yourself, but they interrupted you, dragged up old issues, twisted the facts, and suddenly you found yourself apologizing for something you didn't even do wrong. That's not a dialogue, that's a performance. One they scripted, and you unknowingly played the villain. But it doesn't stop there. The most dangerous part of arguing with a narcissist is the psychological spiral they pull you into. They have a disturbing ability. They make you doubt your own reality. It's a tactic called gaslighting, a term now well known in conversations about emotional abuse. They'll say, "I never said that," even though you remember it clearly. They'll say, "You're imagining things," even when you have evidence right in front of you. They repeat these things over and over until you start to wonder, maybe I did remember it wrong. Maybe I am too sensitive. That's when they truly win, not by convincing you, but by destroying your trust in yourself. Let's go even deeper into how they do this. A narcissist doesn't just dismiss your emotions, they turn them into weapons. You say, "I'm hurt that you don't listen to me." They say, "You're hurt? I'm the one who has to deal with you all the time." Suddenly your pain isn't the issue anymore. It's twisted into proof that you're the selfish one in their eyes. This isn't some accidental misunderstanding. It's a calculated tactic to keep you off balance, to keep you lost in confusion, where they have control. And the worst part? The more you argue, the deeper you fall into the trap. Every time you try to explain, every time you try to prove you're right, you hand them more power. They don't need to win with logic, they win by wearing you down, making you give up, making you believe your efforts are pointless. That's why arguing with a narcissist isn't just pointless, it's dangerous. Now, let's face the real cost of arguing with a narcissist. It's not just about wasted time or momentary frustration. It's a prolonged attack on your soul, leaving scars you might not even recognize until years later. Think about how you feel after each of those arguments. You're not just tired, you're depleted. It's like you've run barefoot through a field of thorns. Bloody, bruised, hurt heavy. And you still didn't get anywhere. That's not a coincidence. That's the inevitable outcome of engaging with someone who doesn't play by the rules of fairness or compassion. Every time you argue with a narcissist, you lose a piece of your precious mental energy. You pour your heart out, your honest words, your deepest emotions, hoping they'll finally see you, understand you. But to them, those things aren't gifts to be cherished. They're fuel to burn you. You think opening up might build a bridge, but to a narcissist, it's just handing them the knife to stab you with. They don't value sincerity. They use it to manipulate you, to make you feel small, to keep you in a vulnerable state they can control. Picture a specific situation. You come into a conversation with good intentions. You say, "I just want us to find a way to work through this." You're hoping for some dialogue, a little compromise, a glimmer of understanding. But instead of meeting you halfway, they turn it back on you. "Work through this? If you weren't so selfish, we wouldn't even have a problem." You try to explain, but they cut you off. They bring up old issues, things you'd long forgotten, and twist them to fit their narrative. They tell you you're too sensitive, too demanding, too difficult, and before you know it, you're the one apologizing for something you didn't even do wrong. Sound familiar? That's how they operate. They back you into a corner, make you doubt yourself, and leave you walking away feeling like the villain. You start wondering, am I really being too sensitive? Am I the one blowing things out of proportion? That doubt isn't random. It's the result of a calculated tactic narcissists use to slowly destroy your self-confidence. But the cost doesn't stop there. Think about this. Every time you argue with them, a little piece of your self-respect slips away. We all carry an inner belief that we deserve to be heard, respected, and loved. That belief is the foundation of our self-worth, the thing that helps us stay grounded in life. But narcissists have a way of making you forget that. They make you feel small so they can feel big. They make you believe your feelings don't matter, your voice doesn't count, and you're not good enough to be treated with kindness. Let's go even deeper into this damage. When you argue with a narcissist repeatedly, you begin to change how you see yourself. You become more hesitant, more afraid to express what you truly feel. You start thinking, if I speak up, they'll attack me again. If I say how I feel, they'll make me regret it. And slowly you go quiet, not because you want to, but because you're scared. Scared of being shut down, ridiculed, made out to be the bad guy again. That's how they take your voice, not by silencing you directly, but by convincing you that speaking up is useless. Think of a real-life example from your own world. Maybe it's a coworker who always takes credit for your work, but blames you when things go wrong. You try to speak up. I did most of this project. Why am I not being acknowledged? But they fire back, if you had done a better job, we wouldn't be in this mess. You try to defend yourself, but they dredge up a list of petty mistakes, distort the truth, and in the end you fall silent, not because you agree, but because you're too exhausted to continue. That's how they win, not with facts, but by wearing you down. Or maybe it's a family member. Someone who always makes you feel like a disappointment no matter how hard you try. You say, I just want you to see how much effort I put in. They respond, effort? If you really cared, you wouldn't have let me down like this. You want to argue back to prove you're not a failure, but they won't give you the chance. They attack, deflect, twist everything you say until your efforts look like evidence of your inadequacy, and you walk away not just sad, but questioning your worth. The biggest cost of arguing with a narcissist isn't your time. It isn't even the energy you spend. It's the self-worth you leave behind, the trust you once had in yourself, the freedom to live as your authentic self. These wounds don't heal overnight. They can linger for years, making you afraid to stand up for yourself, afraid to open your heart to anyone else. That's why we need a different approach, one that doesn't just help you survive, but helps you reclaim everything that was taken from you. If arguing with a narcissist is a road to nowhere, then what do we do instead? Don't worry, I'm not here to tell you to bow your head or suffer in silence. I'm here to equip you with powerful, practical, and deeply transformative tools that won't just help you survive the narcissist, but stand tall like a mountain in the middle of the storm. This isn't surrender, this is how you win without having to fight. Let's walk through each strategy in detail so you don't just understand them, you know how to live them. Strategy 1. Emotional detachment. Let's begin with a core truth. Your emotions are one of your most valuable assets. They're gold. They're pearls. They're radiant gemstones that reflect your truest self. You wouldn't toss those treasures in front of someone who doesn't know how to value them, would you? It's the same with a narcissist. They don't have the capacity to recognize the worth of your feelings. Not because you aren't good enough, but because they're not equipped to understand. So the first step is protect that treasure. When they start attacking, when they try to pull you into their drama, pause. Take a deep breath and remind yourself, this isn't about me. This is about them. These aren't just words. They're your mental shield. Picture yourself wearing invisible armor. Their words may fly, their toxic arrows may be aimed right at you, but they can't penetrate. You don't need to react. You don't need to explain. You don't need to defend. Just stand there, hold your inner stillness, and let them wonder why they can't touch you. Try practicing this. Next time a narcissist criticizes you, maybe they say, you're useless. Don't jump in to defend yourself. Don't shout, I'm not useless. Instead, breathe, count to 3, and remind yourself. That statement doesn't reflect me, it reflects them. They're trying to provoke you, to throw you off balance, but when you refuse to react, you keep your power. and that's the one thing they can never take from you. Strategy 2. Stay calm and focused on the goal. Narcissists are masters of distraction. They'll bring up the past, throw insults, shift the topic, anything to pull you away from the real issue. This isn't accidental, it's how they control the conversation. But you can break that pattern by staying calm and laser-focused on your goal. Imagine you're a pilot flying through a storm. The winds are wild, lightning flashes, thunder roars, but your hands are steady on the controls, your eyes fixed on your destination. The narcissist is the turbulence, but you don't let it knock you off course. When speaking with them, keep your voice steady, your gaze confident and your focus clear. If you're discussing responsibilities, don't let them derail you with blame or drama. Just say, "I understand your view, but we still need to decide who's doing what today." You don't need to yell. You don't need to get emotional. Your calmness is your strength. Let's go deeper into how to do this. If they try to change the subject, maybe they say, "You always disappoint me." Don't fall into the track. Don't start defending yourself about the past. Instead, gently steer it back. "I hear you, but right now we need to focus on this." They might keep pushing, but stay the course. Every time you redirect, you're reinforcing your position. They want to knock you off track. Don't give them that satisfaction. Strategy 3. Don't take the bait. This is the heart of the battle with a narcissist. They want you to react. They'll insult you, threaten you, say anything to trigger you. Maybe they'll say, "You're nothing," or "I'll leave you if you don't do what I want." Your instinct is to fight back, to shout, to prove your worth, to defend your dignity. But that's exactly the trap they've set for you. Don't fall into it. Think of yourself as a stone statue standing in a raging river. The water crashes, swirls, roars, but it can't move you. When they throw an insult, don't defend. I know it's hard. Our instinct is to stand up for ourselves, but with a narcissist, silence is your most powerful weapon. When they say, "You're worthless," don't respond. Just stand firm, shoulders back, eyes steady. Let them wonder why their poison doesn't pierce you. Here's why this works. Narcissists thrive on your reaction. When you get angry, when you cry, when you beg, they feel powerful. But when you refuse to give them that reaction, they lose their fuel. They might ramp up their attacks, but if you hold steady, they'll burn out. The less you react, the more power you hold, not by fighting, but by refusing to play their game. Strategy 4. Stand in your truth. You don't need to shout to prove you're right. You don't need to convince them to agree with you. You don't need their approval to know your worth. All you need is to stand firm in your inner belief that you are right, that you are worthy, that you are enough, no matter what they say. This is inner strength no one can steal. Picture yourself carrying a small flame inside, a warm, steady light that cannot be extinguished. The narcissist might throw water, might scream that the flame doesn't exist, but you know it's there. You don't need to prove it to them, you just need to keep it burning inside. I once heard a story about a woman whose narcissistic husband would threaten to leave every time she asked for fairness. She learned to say, "If that's what you need to do, I respect your decision." Something miraculous happened. He stopped. Not because he changed, but because he no longer had control over her. Let's go deeper into how to do this. When they threaten you, say, "If you don't do what I want, I'm leaving," don't beg them to stay. Don't argue about who's right or wrong. Just stand there, calm and grounded, and let them see that you don't need them to validate your worth. When you hold your ground, you become a mountain, unshakable, indestructible, unconquerable. Strategy 5. Use we language instead of I. Instead of saying, "I think you're wrong," try saying, "Maybe we can find a way to work through this." It sounds simple, but it's more powerful than you think. Narcissists hate being confronted head-on. It makes them feel threatened, and they'll often respond with more aggression. But when you use we, you soften the confrontation without giving up control of the conversation. Picture yourself leading a dance. You're not yanking or pushing, they'd resist that. You're gently guiding their steps. For example, if you're trying to resolve a conflict, say, Maybe we could try this approach to make things smoother. They might not agree, but you've put yourself in the lead, not them. That's not weakness. That's emotional intelligence. Here's how to apply it in practice. If they start attacking, maybe they say, "You always mess things up." Don't respond with, "No, I don't." Instead say, "I hear that you're frustrated. Maybe we can find a way to avoid this happening again." You're not denying their emotions, but you're not letting them drag you into an argument either. You stay focused on the solution and you steer the conversation in your direction. Now, let's bring these strategies into real-life situations. Life isn't a textbook. It's messy, painful, and sometimes downright chaotic. Whether you're dealing with a narcissist in your family, at work, or in a romantic relationship, here's how to apply these tools. Not just to survive, but to stand strong. If you have a family member who constantly compares you to others, don't let yourself get dragged into the argument. Imagine they say, "Why can't you be more like your cousin? He's so much more successful than you." Your instinct might be to push back. "I'm trying my best," but that only gives them more ammo. Instead, stay calm and firm. "I understand your perspective, but I'm following my own path." They may keep criticizing, but you're not giving them the fuel to explode. You stand your ground and walk away with your self-respect intact. Let's go deeper into that scenario. Suppose they don't stop. They say, "Your path leads nowhere." Don't get pulled into a debate about your success. Simply respond, "Maybe we have different definitions of success, but I'm content with where I'm headed." You don't need their approval. You just need to remember that they don't get to define your worth. Every time you refuse to take the bait, you reinforce your inner strength. At work, if you have a boss who dumps tasks unfairly on you, don't let your emotions drag you down. If they say, "Why are you so slow? Everyone else finishes faster," don't lash out or dive into justifying your workload. Instead, stay calm and goal-focused. "I understand you want things done quickly. Maybe we can reorganize things so the workflow is smoother." You're not arguing, you're steering the conversation toward a solution. Now imagine the situation escalates. They respond, "Reorganize? That's just an excuse." Don't fall into the trap of defending yourself. Just say, "I hear you, but I think we can find a way that works better for both of us." You don't let them pull you into drama, you stay grounded, and you show them you're not easily shaken. This doesn't just protect you from emotional attacks. It helps you maintain professionalism and confidence in a challenging work environment. In a romantic relationship, if your partner threatens to leave every time you speak up, don't let the fear of losing them break you. Let's say they say, "If you don't like how I do things, I'll leave." Your instinct might be to plead, "Don't go, we can work this out," but that only gives them power. Instead, hold your ground. "If that's what you feel is best, I respect your decision." It's not easy. Your heart might ache, your fear might scream, but this takes away their power to control you. Let's dig deeper into this one. Suppose they push further. "You'll regret it if I leave." Don't argue, don't beg, just calmly respond. "I understand you feel that way, but I believe we both deserve what's best." You don't need to win them over, you just need to stay rooted in your values. They want you to crumble, but when you don't, they panic because they've lost control. And even if they actually walk away, you walk away with your dignity intact, and that's worth more than any relationship. These situations won't always end the way you hope. The narcissist might still rage, still try to manipulate, still aim to hurt you, but the difference is, you're no longer the victim. You're no longer letting them define who you are. You walk away from the conversation with your head held high, knowing you protected yourself, not by shouting, but by standing firm and being wise. Let me end with a simple truth, one so powerful it could change the way you see everything. Don't argue with a narcissist because you deserve better. They may live in their own fantasy world where they're the king, the ruler, the center of all attention, but you don't have to play the supporting role in that drama. You don't have to bow to their ego. You don't have to sacrifice your emotions to feed their pride. Instead of fighting, detach. Instead of shouting, stand firm. Instead of letting them drag you down, Protect your peace. That sacred peace they will never be able to touch. This isn't losing. This is winning in the deepest, wisest, and strongest way. You can't change them. It's not your responsibility, and it's not your burden to carry. But what you can change is how you respond. You can change how you protect your spirit from their arrows. You can change the way you stand tall, like a mountain in a storm, unshaken, unbroken, and untouched by their attempts to define you. Think about this. Every time you refuse to take the bait, every time you hold your ground, every time you walk away with your self-respect intact, you're not just surviving, you're living in alignment with who you truly are. You don't need their approval to know who you are. You don't need their agreement to know you're right. You don't need their love to know you are worthy of love. You are enough, not because of what they think, but because of what you know deep within your soul. This journey isn't easy. There will be days when you want to scream, to prove your worth, to make them finally see you. But remember, your worth was never theirs to give. It lives inside you, in your resilience, in your self-respect, in your ability to stand firm, no matter what they say or do. The narcissist may have their ego, but you have your power, a power that needs no proof, no argument, no pleading. That is real power, and no one, not even a narcissist, can ever take it from you.